Hi everyone, I hope you're having a lovely day. If you're not, I hope your experience strengthens you in the end. Following on from my last video about modern science and consciousness, I found an interesting lecture excerpt on the subject of science's approach to the physical brain, and I'd love to share it with you. Let's listen together. This is from Lecture 6 of a series called Europe Between East and West in Cosmic and Human History by Rudolf Steiner, given in 1916 in Munich. It's read beautifully by Dale Brunsvold. All the relevant links will be in the description.
Actually, what superficial physical science today knows about the construction of the skull and the brain is considerable. In fact, so much is known that there are a huge number of people for whom there is simply too much to know. But when you consider the extent of what external science knows about the skull and the brain, how that wondrous construct is created, down to its most minute constituents, how little progress would be made by external science in actually generating them. We are faced with a momentous mystery. Those of limited outlook, whom one might think of as dullards or stuntlings, make short shrift of this mystery by claiming that what is handed down through the generations is spontaneously self-perpetuating, that the human head simply self-generates within the mother's body. You can understand that people might say this, but how clever it is may become clearer from the example I'd like to bring. Hypothetically, we could imagine that there were beings in Munich who could see a great deal, but with the exception of human beings and their activities. It is conceivable that such beings might exist in Munich who could not perceive human beings and their activities. Such beings, blind to humans and their affairs, might, for instance, see clocks. They would be aware that clocks exist and how they were assembled, yet not see the human watchmaker assembling the timepieces. They would just see the components coalescing without the hands carrying out the assembly, though might possibly see the various tweezers, calipers, collets, and so on with which the parts are gripped. In short, they'd see all the components self-assembling out of thin air. What concept would such beings have of a watch? They certainly wouldn't think there were watchmakers in Munich. They would deny that completely. They might think, oh, how frightfully superstitious to think there are clockmakers, knowing as we do that clocks spontaneously self-assemble. This is exactly the sort of assumption people make about whatever gradually takes shape over time on a physical level, that it spontaneously self-generates. In truth, every single thing that arises does so through the actions of the beings of the higher hierarchies, and not just due to the mutual interactions of fathers and mothers, nor is the human being evolving within the mother's body created, quote, of its own accord, close quote. No, the entire universe, together with the beings of the higher hierarchies, is involved in the process.
Thanks for listening if you made it this far. That's interesting to think about, isn't it? It's essentially the intelligent design argument, but the way it's put forward here makes it seem even more compelling. Just how believable is it that our complex bodies and brains assembled themselves in our mother's womb? I'm not a biologist myself, and this lecture was given in 1916, so maybe you know of recent discoveries that could form the basis of a solid counter-argument to what we've listened to today. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, we'll finish with the Bible. This time it's Psalm 139, verses 13 to 16. Have a blessed rest of your day. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them.